I want to take a moment and talk about the Christian following in the U.S. of false prophets. There's a lot of Christians. One might say greater than 50% of Christians in the United States are worshiping politics and false prophets. And they've completely pushed Jesus Christ to the side. And churches are pushing this as well. Church leaders are pushing politics and pushing Jesus aside. And Jesus warned us of this. And I want to talk specifically about the false prophets. But let's just see what Jesus said about it. When the disciples asked Jesus about the end times, he said this. He said a lot of things. But this specifically in verse 11. Then many false prophets will rise up and deceive many. And that's what we're seeing today. Is we're seeing false prophets rise up and deceive many. Now let me talk about what a false prophet is. Today, there are no prophets. Now, there will be prophesying in the end times about Jesus' return, but it's prophesying based on biblical things, not prophesying on election results or who's going to overthrow who or that kind of thing. When you're following false prophets, and there's a lot of Christians showing up to political rallies with false prophets on their shirts, and they're bragging about what these false prophets have said is going to happen to politicians in the U.S. Like this guy's going to get overthrown and then this guy's going to take over because somehow a crazy false prophet said this. Now, I just want to warn you, Christians are following these false prophets. Do not follow false prophets. Jesus has warned you. Now I have warned you. Do not follow false prophets because, when I start prophesying, and I believe I will start prophesying in the end times because God said I would, I'm not going to be predicting the future. I'm not going to be predicting political things. I'm going to be professing Jesus Christ and predicting what the Bible says is going to happen, not what some crazy political prophet has said. Why are Christians following political prophets anyway? Because Jesus said they would. They're being deceived. The beast, the system of the beast is just playing a little flute, and Christians are just following him to the edge of the cliff. It's crazy to watch, but it is taking place in front of our own eyes. So stop following false prophets. If somebody's going to tell you anything prophetic, if it's not here, ignore it and stop. Don't wear it on your shirt. Don't sit there and be a professed Christian and say, well, I support this crazy prophetic group. Because it is crazy, and many will arise. Jesus specifically said, could you imagine if false prophets started coming around in the 80s? Christians would have discounted them and shunned them like crazy. But now what we're seeing is we're seeing false prophets coming up, and they're saying political things that tickle the ears about your favorite politician, and then you're following him blindly, even though Jesus warns you about it. Stop it. Literally, all you gotta do is stop. Stop following false prophets. Many false prophets will arise, and unless they're professing biblical things about the coming of the kingdom of Jesus Christ, they're false prophets. If they're prophesying about political figures, they're feeding the Antichrist, and his agenda is what you're doing. So as a Christian, when you wear your big Q shirt and you go to these things, you're essentially feeding the Antichrist, and you're feeding the beast. Stop it. Stop. Just stop. Jesus warned you about it. And as a Christian, you should know better. But maybe you're just not a Christian. Maybe that's really what it comes to, is there's a remnant of Jesus Christ who will stand up for Jesus Christ only in the end times. The rest of the Christians, that might be what you are. If you just love what these prophets are telling you, and it just makes your ears just so happy, you're following the beast and his system. Stop. Love to hear your thoughts on all this. Put it in the comments below. If you like this video, click like and subscribe. Feel called to support this channel through Patreon. That link is also below. But the most important part of this channel is we take prayer requests. Never hesitate to send that in. Thank you for watching this episode of God, Family, and Guns. And as always, love God, love your family, and love guns.